Yo friends, welcome to Next Level Consciousness with Linnea Stella. Today we have something super exciting to cover, namely the fundamentals of manifesting. And maybe you think, oh, can't we just skip to the good parts? I just want to create all my wildest dreams and then some. And I love your enthusiasm, and by all means, you can go ahead and manifest now if you don't want to watch this video. I just thought that it would be helpful to do it because one, I have a background in science and I like when things make sense. And every manifestation teacher has a slightly different take because there is no 100% consensus in the same way that we all agree on what gravity is, more or less. But manifesting, there are so many different views and philosophies and branches of science really that come in. So I just want us to start on the same page. Also, I have the one line in human design, if you're familiar with human design, so I like to start with the basics. The second reason is to make it easier for your subconscious to accept manifesting as true. And why is this important? It is because your subconscious is ruling 95% of your life. And we as a society have been bombarded with things like the only true thing is materialism, or maybe things that manifesting is just woo, or it's not real, whatever. So anything that can help your subconscious mind accept the idea that manifesting works is gonna help you massively when you dive in. And this is also for you to see if you like my view, my take on manifesting. Maybe you don't, that's perfectly fine. But I think that there are 4 fundamental principles that we need to accept before we dive into manifesting. So let's get started. And before we dive in, what do I even mean by manifesting? To me, manifesting is when you consciously co-create your life experience. So you have an intention that I want to experience, for example, winning the lottery. I want to experience peak health. I want to experience meeting a soulmate. And you are using your conscious awareness to intend to make that happen. So with that said, principle number 1 for manifesting is that you need to accept that the mechanics of manifesting is not part of the standard model of physics or the materialist worldview. So if that is the only thing that you can accept and you think everything else is just nonsense, then this video is probably not for you, and manifesting as the way I talk about it is probably not for you either. I have been looking quite a lot into the nature of reality and studied it, and I'm also working for a research institute called Institute of Noetic Sciences. In no way sponsored or linked to this video. I just think what they do is very fascinating because they're basically trying to connect spirituality with science and understand invisible energy and understand all these phenomena that are not scientific or pseudoscience. I think it was back in the Middle Age. People knew, it was common sense, that materialism is just a part of reality and that there is something much bigger connected to this invisible force and magic. But this got suppressed by the church in an attempt to control people. Because if everyone is going around knowing how powerful they are and how infinite we are as human beings, we are harder to manipulate. So that's the first principle. You need to be open to the idea that there is something more than the strictly physical, which also quantum physics suggests. And as a side note, because I'm very passionate about this, as you can see, there are basically 2 worldviews. So if you look at reality at its largest scale, and one is the materialist worldview, and that means that matter is the fundamental thing. For example, this beautiful crystal. And on a biological level, that means that the fundamental part of us is the meat and flesh and bones. And consciousness, the mind, thought, is an emergent property. It is a result of our biology. However, the interesting thing is that the materialist worldview actually fails to describe how is consciousness then created. How is it biologically produced? Science can't reply to that. Now, the opposite view is that consciousness is fundamental and matter is emergent from consciousness. So, materialism, material first, consciousness second. Panpsychism is consciousness first, matter second. And even Plato was actually convinced that This is the ultimate truth of the universe, that consciousness, mind, thought is the essence of the universe. One last thing before we move on to the next principle is that I also talk about two realms. And I know that there are an infinitude of realms. I'm not familiar with all the energetic realms. But I like to talk about 3D or the physical realm versus 5D or the energetic realm, because those are the two that make sense to talk about in the context of manifesting. And you can also see it as 5D is the realm of creation. If you believe in the panpsychism, if you believe that mind comes before matter, and that is a thing that you need to move into accepting if you want to work with manifesting in this way, because otherwise manifesting doesn't make sense. So 5D is the realm of creation, of ideas, of thought. 3D is the realm of results from those creations, from those ideas, from those thoughts. So thought creates reality. Okay, does this make sense so far? Let's move on to the second principle. So the second principle is that you need to be open to a way different model of reality than what we have been told. And the reason I chose to separate this from the first is that the first talks more about the very essence of the universe, which is energy, consciousness. And here I talk more about the reality that you are experiencing on a daily basis. What is it? Where does it come from? You see, things are getting pretty philosophical here, but I really think it can help your subconscious mind to manifest better. And if the laws of manifesting are to be true, you need to accept the concept that we are co-creating our reality. So that means that reality isn't something static that just is, and you are just walking around in it, but you are actually changing reality by your energy, by your thoughts. That's one of the very fundamental principles of manifesting. So this view that you are co-creating with the universe implies that you have a more active part in your life, in your experiences. You have more responsibility, but you also have more power, which is a great thing. And the thing is that you are constantly manifesting. So I also want you to see that manifesting is not something that you need to learn. You have actually manifested your entire life up to this point. You may just not have done it consciously. So if you have experienced things that you think, why did that happen to me? Why did I experience that thing? It was because you were manifesting from a lower energy. So the good news is that the more we become aware, awareness is really the first step to change. The more we can start to create experiences that we want to have instead. However, I want you to notice the use of the word co-creating rather than creating. Because really what we do when we manifest is that we increase the probability of having a certain experience. Because there are no guarantees in life. If you want guarantees in life, you don't want life. But you can always go from maybe a 1% probability of experiencing something to a 95% probability of experiencing something. And that is a huge difference. And if you stack possibility after possibility, moment after moment like that, and you have 95% after 95%, you can see that the chances that you are experiencing a life that you actually enjoy are much greater than if you just leave it completely up to chance. Then we can also go on a philosophical tangent again, that seems to be the topic for tonight, on is it right to have preferences? Isn't it better to just go with the flow and let life take you wherever it wants? Maybe yes, but I know for me, I'd rather have a certain type of experiences that my soul desires, and that is the key, that you need to be really clear. And now I'm getting ahead of myself because we're going to cover this in a future video very soon, but the thing that you manifest ideally should come from your soul. Because I think that the desires of your soul are lessons or experiences that your soul wants for growth. So I'd rather go in the direction of increasing growth time after time after time than just being thrown away like in a tumble dryer and maybe ending up in jail, because that's also an experience. And as the mushrooms say, it's all just experiences. It's neutral, but I still would prefer to go on a vacation in the tropics than to spend the rest of my life in jail, but that's just me. You are always free to do whatever you feel like or have whatever philosophy that you have. The most important thing, whether you're watching me or someone else, is to always think for yourself and just let this serve as inspiration. So over to principle 3, and I love this one. You are so much more powerful than what you have been made to believe. And I like to simplify things, as you may have noticed, for example, the 3D and the 5D thing. I also like to talk about us as humans as having a human part and an infinite part. Like a more 3D part, a more 5D part, if you so want. And I know that that's a massive simplification, but it makes sense to talk like that in the concept of manifesting as the way that I share about it. Because in spiritual truth, you are an infinite being having an earthly experience. And the more you can really anchor into that truth, the more you can unlock your manifesting capabilities and co-create your reality. And over to the last principle of manifesting. So the first is, what is the universe actually made up of at the most fundamental level? And I believe that it's energy rather than matter, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to manifest. The second was more about your role in reality and that you can actually co-create your reality. The third is to own your power as that co-creator and really see that you are not just a small tiny human, but you are infinitely powerful and capable. And the last principle is that the way that you exert that power over reality is through your energy. So you see, beautiful full circle moment there. It goes from that the universe is made of energy to that your energy creates your reality. And what do I mean by your energy? I mean the sum total of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. And for this last principle to have any validity at all, we need to believe that our energy can affect the universe, because the universe is in essence also made of energy. And I find this so exhilarating that the things that you think and the feelings that you feel actually ripples out in the whole universe. And I like to see it as your beliefs, thoughts, feelings, even your desires are almost striking a string on the guitar of the universe. They are creating these vibrations, continuing infinitely out into the cosmos. So remember, 5D first, because 5D is the realm of creation and 3D is just the realm of results. And this is one of the tricks also to manifesting, that many people go about manifesting by trying to manipulate 3D, which is the solid dimension, which is the material dimension, the inert dimension. And an example to make this a little more tangible is, say that you want to manifest a new car. And the way that most people would go about it is that they would collect the money and they would take the logical steps, look for the car and to maybe compare a couple different models or brands, and then they would settle for one and buy it. But how you can supercharge this is by visualization. Because visualization is engaging your subconscious mind. And now we really go from where the video started, which is on the universal level, to inside of your head. So what you could do is that you can visualize seeing yourself finding your perfect dream car, and maybe that is just coming to you for free. And yeah, it just ended up on your driveway and it's yours and you have the key. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the probability of that happening or the beliefs that you need to get behind. Just the principle is that when you visualize something, you engage your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind holds 95% of your mental power. Your conscious mind only 5%. Another fascinating thing with the subconscious mind is that it takes in 1 billion of data per second. Your conscious mind, guess how much? About 40 to 60 bits. So compare 60 to 1 billion. It's a huge difference. Where do you think you have more information and inputs to make a decision and to find the best car the fastest way? Of course, in the 1 billions of data per second, that sits in your subconscious mind. That is why when we engage the subconscious, we are really many steps ahead based on those who only leverage their conscious mind and only operate from their conscious mind. And one way to do that is by visualization, and also, of course, listening to your intuition. But we're gonna go more into the details in the following line because this is getting a little long now. But what can happen when you engage your subconscious mind in visualization? If you want that specific car, maybe you just get an intuitive hit to turn your head to the right, and then you see someone who is standing there and like, who wants a free car? That was maybe a bad example, but every little step you take in life, I don't think is as random as we think. It is governed by something. Is it your subconscious mind? Magic? Who knows? I just know that you can create your reality and manifest only by working harder, by ignoring all the information in this video and just trying to make it happen. But it's so much slower and it's more boring because who doesn't love magic? So those were the 4 metaphysical principles on how manifesting works on an energetic level. And now, of course, since the last principle is that the way that you consciously manifest is through your energy, you of course want to know, how can I use my energy in my favor then? And that is the topic for the next video.